How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to SwitchStars, and if you're watching this review, you've either been enticed in by my awesome official/unofficial trailer for the game, or are wondering how in God's name a sequel has been released for a clock. Now, Red Deer Games have released about 1 million versions of the first AAA Clock, including a deluxe edition, special edition, definitive edition, and now a self-proclaimed Game of the Year edition, all bundled together with various DLC clock themes, but with nothing else to really set them apart. And now we have AAA Clock 2, but what sets this one apart, and why should you even consider buying it? Well, in terms of its functionality as a clock, it's pretty much identical to the first one. You get your clock face featuring a fat robot and squishy jelly dude, can switch between 12 and 24 hour formats, change the colour of the hours and minutes, and set an alarm which has a rather jovial jingle. But that's about it. The real reason to buy this one though is for its built-in game, which rather than being a simple endless runner like the first AAA Clock, is actually a fully fledged run and gun platformer called Jelly and Vulca. So how does it play? Well, starting with the story, the game kind of builds on the theme of the first one, featuring the same protagonist, but this time round we get a whole backstory about a battle between good and evil, as you, a Jelly Guardian called Jelly, are tasked with defeating something called the Distortion by collecting artifacts, and there are some nice comic strip style cutscenes which help deliver the narrative, though after playing through the first level and part of the second, I'm not entirely sure how this actually ties into the gameplay. Now, when it comes to the gameplay, going by the number of artifacts, there are potentially 5 levels in the game, though I only saw 3 in the menu, and the main objective sees you working your way through them to the end and then defeating the bosses, so pretty standard stuff. The levels themselves are reasonably well put together and are actually pretty huge, with the first one taking me around 25 minutes to complete, and they feature a ton of hidden side routes down which you'll usually find these large runes which you can activate, and there appears to be 8 in total for each level, though I really didn't have the patience to locate them all and discover their intended purpose. Now, for the most part, the game's mechanics are fine. We get some standard platforming and shooting, with you able to aim your weapon with the right thumbstick, fire off both standard shots and a more powerful spread shot which requires special ammo collected throughout stages, and you can also activate a boost ability which enables rapid fire for a few seconds. The enemies consist of an assortment of alien-like creatures which either fire projectiles at you or attempt to collide with you, and overall the variety is not bad, though you will find the same enemies throughout multiple levels and they have a habit of spawning out of nowhere and catching you off guard. So far as the boss battles go, I only fought the first one and he was incredibly easy, but there may be more challenging ones if you manage to make it further into the game. It's a fairly challenging platformer though, with plenty of traps and pitfalls for you to navigate through, and there are also some puzzle elements in the second level which require you to activate switches, and overall Jelly and Vulca has the potential to be a fairly decent platformer. It has a cool art style and some run and gun action which is straightforward but works well, however there are a few issues which, I have to be honest, really spoil the gameplay experience, and the first and most detrimental of these is actually your character's basic movement mechanics. Instead of just running normally, your character has a brief moment where he walks slowly before bursting into a sprint, and this actually has a huge impact on your ability to navigate platforms, especially smaller ones, as although you have a double jump at your disposal, unless you're sprinting you have no forward momentum, and I actually found platforming in the game absolutely infuriating, as I often failed to make jumps and fell to my death. Scattered about levels you'll find deadly goop which kills you in a single hit, which coupled with the platforming issues is really just designed to piss you off, and although there's a checkpoint system, they can only be activated once and any progression between them is lost, so you can't really backtrack to collect any missed relics once you've progressed past them. Secondly, your standard fire mode drains the charge of your weapon, and once empty you'll fire super slow and have to wait for it to slowly recharge. And this is a mechanic which I've criticised in other games as it's entirely unnecessary in my opinion, and really just slows down gameplay for no reason whatsoever. Finally, after reaching the second level, you'll unlock the ability to switch to Vulca, the fat robot, and this dude introduces some new mechanics which, don't get me wrong, were a welcome addition, but Vulca controls even worse than the jelly dude, being unable to jump due to his size in addition to the same movement issues, and for the most part you'll just be forced to play as Jelly due to him being the only one able to perform the platforming feats required to progress through the levels. When all's said and done though, despite the issues, Jelly and Vulca is definitely an improvement on the previous game and could have been released as a standalone game without the addition of the clock feature, but presumably AAA Clock has become notorious enough to act as a selling point, and hopefully it doesn't overshadow the work that has gone into creating what for the most part is a decent little platformer. With that said though, do you own the first AAA Clock, and will you be picking up this sequel, if only to check out Jelly and Vulca? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments section below. Be sure to drop a like if this review helped you out, subscribe for more Nintendo Switch reviews and content, and as always, thanks once again for watching, take care of yourselves, and game on.